I think the next two we can take together. Consider and discuss email from resident to town attorney. Can discuss planning board requests to have attorney talk with them. So, that's all the same email, correct?
No, so I gave a copy of the email Brooks Morton sent to the general email for Perkins Thompson, and that was dated October 31st, 2019 at 9:45 a.m. That came to me through Jim Katsavikis that day, but that is the letter, the email that got sent to them. And then Brooks came in and said that at the last planning board meeting on November 6th, a unanimous vote was made to have Attorney Katsavikis come and speak to them at their next planning board meeting or subsequent planning board meeting.
Okay.
It's the one we had, the lawyer come, isn't it?
Yep.
And they didn't show up.
Okay, it wasn't me. So so the lawyers already come at their request, or there was another request?
No, remember we had the joint meeting on the
Yes.
23rd?
Yes. Yeah.
And we had 3 planning board members come.
Right, so that's the board request to have attorney talk with them?
Yep. I'm not entirely sure, I haven't got a chance, I was instructed to watch the video of the last planning board meeting so that I could get direction as to why the planning board wants the attorney to attend the meeting, and I wasn't able to do that
Okay,
on Thursday or today.
so, Brooks, if I can ask, is there a second request for the planning board to have the attorney come?
Yeah, don't confuse these two items. One was a personal note to the lawyer from me,
This is the email we
Yes.
have, right?
and the other one was a planning board business, so don't confuse the two.
Okay, so we'll start with the first one.
Right.
So, you were writing to Jim as a citizen,
Says citizen.
so, do you pay for that? Like, was that, like, were you looking to engage his services?
No, they have a little message box on their website.
Hmm,
I put a communication disclaimer saying that I understand that I am not obligated to get any kind of response.
okay. I guess the confusion is reaching out to the town lawyer. And that's my challenge with it. You know, the planning board certainly has the right to speak to an attorney. You know, I think that's something that when we speak to attorneys, we typically go through Amy. Do we want to do that? Or do we expect everybody? Like the fire department wants to speak to an attorney. Does that go through the office?
So historically, when the planning board has needed assistance with applications, they would come to the town office in the last 4 years and said, I think we need to have the attorney's assistance in this matter. I bring it to you guys, and I say, the planning board's looking for assistance from the attorney on an application, and you guys have always granted that. And
Right.
said, yes, absolutely, have Katsavikis work on this ordinance or work on this application, and that's the way it has historically always worked since I've been here. So, but this is separate than that. This is, we have clearly disgruntled resident in Newry, and the question is, do we have the attorney respond to Brooks, or do we not have the attorney respond to Brooks? Or, I mean, we certainly don't want to see this happen repetitively, because it costs taxpayers money to respond to emails. But, I mean, I think the question is, do we have him respond to this letter, this email?
Well, and what muddies the water is, you know, Brooks is on the planning board.
Right.
Right, I mean, it's, I mean, that muddies the water for me, I don't, you know,
Yeah, when the
if,
subject line is planning board and he's a planning board member,
Right,
it
and-
certainly is not clear that he's acting as a resident of Newry. And it doesn't say in there anywhere that he's acting as a resident of Newry. It says that, I know you probably need approval from the predators of this malfeasance to even reply to my concerns, but I figured I would try before I throw in the towel.
I don't have I don't have the answer, you know, I mean, I think if a citizen, if I have an issue with, the color of the yellow lines going down the road just because I can't come up with anything better, and I wanna speak to an attorney about that, I wouldn't expect the town to pay for that. Right? I mean, if I had an issue with the town, and I needed an attorney to help me with something that was going on in the town, wouldn't that be on me? You know, now, and if it's a free legal service that you're reaching out for, understood.
There was no, I clearly stated I wasn't looking for any response.
Why did you send a message if you weren't looking for any response?
Because I didn't know if he knew the whole backstory behind the ordinance change after the fact. After you already appointed, a
So
non-resident.
this is about having a non-resident on the planning board. Is that the issue?
That was the gist of it, yes.
So, state law clearly states you don't have to be a resident of the town to be on the planning board. It's
I
been that
know
way
that.
forever.
I know that, but we changed our ordinance to after the fact, after we'd already,
So, we discussed the fact that, you know, we were out of members, and we didn't have a quorum. We were, you know, we were in trouble, and it wasn't through a lot of trying, but we didn't have a quorum, we couldn't do business. So, we reached out to someone who was not in the town, but obviously well-versed in planning board business. Procedures, thought it was a great choice, she was willing to do it, checked to see if it was legitimate and legal, it is. The reason we changed the ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it was confusing, because although you don't have to be you don't have to be a resident to be on the planning board, the ordinance read,
that you did.
No,
No,
it read that
it
if
read-
you were no longer a resident, you may be removed.
which is different. And then the rest of the ordinance changes.
Semantics.
The rest of the ordinance changes were grammatical,
And change it to a fiscal year.
and changed to a fiscal year, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't wanna get into, you know, I think if you or any resident wants to talk to an attorney about that, you absolutely have the right to do it. Our attorney, we have paid, we have spoken to, I don't think we need to pay him again to tell us the same thing, because he's told us it's legit. So, you know, if that answer doesn't work for anybody, then I would think they could go approach whatever attorney they wanted and ask the question. But I don't think that would be on the town's dime.
I agree. You could get rampant.
Right,
Talk
I
to
mean,
attorneys on our nickel.
Pastor Figus does a great job. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Jim does a great job. We pay him for it, you know what I mean? He's an easy guy to talk to, but we pay him for that. That's what he does for a living. He's good at it. You know, he certainly has helped us in a number of ways, but you're right, I think you could get crazy if, you know, any question you had, you just went to the attorney. So, sticking to this first one, sticking to the email from the town resident, town attorney, is there any action we need to do on that?
We do not, unless you want to take formal action asking the attorney to respond. I held off, I told Katsvikis not to respond to the email because we've always worked in this manner, that I came to you when we had to talk about legal stuff unless it was personnel, and to let you know after the fact. But I didn't think it was appropriate for him to respond to Brooks without getting your authorization, because it's dollars.
So my opinion is the question has been answered previously. You can certainly go look through the minutes and records and tapes and hear it. And,
Yeah.
you know, so I don't think we should pay Jim to answer Brooks, would be my opinion. You know, I don't know where you guys stand on that, or if you want to do something different, I'm all ears, but.
Well, I think when Jim was here, he answered some of these questions, you know, that night. I mean, and we're trying to work forward to make this whole planning board situation better. I don't think that we intentionally or said that it was our idea to have, you know, outside members to be on the planning board, non-residents. But we're almost coming to the point where we can't get residents to be on the planning board, so then what do? You know, if we don't get them, then it falls back onto us.
The only thing I disagree with, Gary, is we're not almost to the point, we're at the point.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, where, you know, where.
Well, right now, we have, what, 5? Oh, we could have
So
5.
we could have.
Right, we have, you know, Gary has stepped up.
So we
which is good.
actually really need 2 more.
Yeah, we have full board.
And if we could, you know, our first, to me, I'm just speaking for myself, if we could get 7 people, residents of the town of Newry, to be on this board, I don't think we'd have any problem with that. But we've been accused of having members from Sunday River to make it look like we're getting them on there so Sunday River will have an easy in. And that is not what we're trying to do. Not in my opinion.
Powers in the ordinance.
Yeah,
Town votes on the ordinance.
that's it.
Planning board interprets the ordinance.
So why did you feel led to have to change the ordinance?
Because it was confusing.
And it was 30 years old.
Right. It was
Yeah,
confusing, as
and
you-
people understood for 30 years that you had to be a resident. That was the general understanding.
but-
Don't you shake your head, no, Amy, you've only been here a
So
short
Brooks,
time.
Brooks, if you'd speak through me, if there was the understanding, it was confused, because it wasn't true.
That was, maybe just recently people became confused about it.
So,
For his law, the state law didn't change.
like, can I speak?
Yeah.
So that-
I never said state law
Hang on,
did
Brooks.
change.
The last amendment to the planning board ordinance was in 2015, and that's when you changed the law that said that if you were no longer a resident, you may be removed from the planning board. Before that, there was nothing in the planning board ordinance that stated you had to be a resident or a non-resident. So in 2015, you chose to change that language. I just want to make it very clear that this hasn't been like a long-standing situation for 30 years and then we just like upped it. That has not been the case. That was, the last time that planning board amendment was amended was in 2015. And our attorney looked at the ordinance and said, this is not clear.
Right.
The state law, it preempts all of our ordinances. If the state law allows you to have a non-resident be a member of the planning board, you clearly have to have it in your ordinance that only residents can be members of the planning board.
Right.
And that was the legal opinion we received when we didn't have a quorum and we were really struggling to get a planning board meeting together so that we could process applications.
We had a public hearing on it.
2,
We had a meeting with the planning board on it.
yes.
You know, at Brooks, I think we tried to do our due diligence to put it out there to the world, that this is what we're doing. Questions? And nobody comes. Didn't try to throw anything by anybody. I guess back to the question though, back to my question. So I propose we do not have Jim respond to Brooks. I don't know what you guys would like to do with that, and I'm open. I feel like it's been answered. You know, and I don't know how many times we need to answer the same question. Could be something I'm missing.
I can certainly look through my email and see if there is a memo or something, or an email that answers that question, but there's more than that question in here. And I felt like there were, a lot of these questions were answered at the meeting that we had, the joint meeting with the planning board. A lot of these questions were answered at that meeting, so and it was 7 days in between this email and that meeting, so I think I was just confused about, you know, what we're looking for here, but it's pretty clear to me you don't want the town attorney to respond to them.
That's, but let me be clear, that's what I said, but you guys certainly can.
Want that in a motion?
No, I don't think we need a motion, I'm not trying to impose my will here, you know what I mean? I just wanna make sure that we act as a board, it's the three of us, you know,
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, and Brooks has already stated that he didn't really expect that he was gonna get a response. He stated that,
Right.
so like everybody has said, I thought that those same questions had been answered before.
Right.
I guess I would say not to have him respond to it again. And I'm sure even though if Jim comes back up and meets with the planning board, there's a good chance that some of this is gonna come back up.
So that's on to the next, yeah. So, before we go there, Brooks, clearly you're upset with the way the Sunday River application went. There's a couple of things that happened through that process that have me concerned about how that whole process went. Happy to talk about it. Would be happy to, so, do we want to do that publicly? Do we want to have that as an executive session? Do we want to offer Brooks an executive session to voice concerns? What's the right procedure for that?
So, Brooks Morton is an employee of the town, and if you're gonna talk
I'm not
about-
an employee of the town.
So
I'm a volunteer
Brooks is
board.
considered as a volunteer, he still has the same rights
Yeah.
as an employee of the town, and he does get paid a stipend, so, essentially,
Yep.
he's an employee. So
Right.
if you're gonna discuss Brooks's job performance as a planning board member, then you have to offer him an executive session and give him notice of that.
I don't need an executive session, I've got nothing to hide.
So, do we put that on our next agenda, go through the formal process of offering an executive session, have Brooks say, no, I don't want that, and then have the conversation? Is that want to make sure that we do this correctly? Do
Well,
this?
he has a choice, right? He
He
can
has
have
a
it in
choice,
executive
yeah.
session.
If he wants to
or he
waive
can-
notice and waive the executive session, then he can, that's his prerogative.
But do we need to take Brooks out of it for a minute?
Mhm.
Forget person X. Do we need to formally notify them, not sitting in a meeting talking
So
about
the
it?
only reason you would need to notify an employee of an executive session is if termination is on the table.
Okay?
Otherwise, with a formal notice,
Right.
you would have to give them their 7 days.
Right.
But yeah, you need to tell them to come. You need to tell
Right.
them that there's gonna be an executive session and that we'd like to speak to you about a certain topic. If Brooks wants to waive that, then that's his prerogative.
You need to get that waiver in writing.
I've got it on tape.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't
Yeah, it's
think
not-
that we've had other, committee members that we offered executive session to in the past, and they waived their,
Right.
right to executive session, so we've never done that in the past, I don't think it's
Just
necessary.
wondered, that's all.
Okay. Yeah. So if everybody's comfortable, I'll bring up my concern. And again, my concern. So Brooks, my concern, during the Sunday River application process, you were offering legal advice to one of the parties. And what I'm talking about specifically is I won't be able to quote it, that they should look into adverse possession. To me, that seems out of bounds of where a planning board person ought to be. Your job in the planning board is to interpret the ordinance. The town gets to vote on the ordinance. The planning board members, just like the select board, don't get to pick what the ordinance says. We just get to interpret it. So that's my concern. And did I misinterpret that, or, where'd that come from?
That was at the point where the planning board couldn't determine on that legal point. The legal point being their access to the trail is a ski in, ski out. So it was my suggestion to them that the only remedy would be for them to seek legal advice. It wasn't, it was because we can't, as a planning board, couldn't move on that.
Right, you can speak to the ordinance, is what the planning board can speak to.
Right.
I guess, there's a difference between saying you should seek legal advice, sorry, we can't help you, there's always legal advice, and saying, hey, there's this thing called adverse possession, which you should look into. And as I understand, that's what you were offering them.
I gave them that bit of advice, yes.
I think that's out of line.
I
My
think that's
opinion.
creating a bias, is what that is creating.
Right.
When you're not giving free legal advice to both sides of both parties of the application, you are showing bias by offering free legal advice to one party over another.
And that's a concern. The bias is something we're always talking about, bias, conflict of interest, wherever you want to, it's constantly on the tip of everybody's tongue. And that, to me, that crosses the line. So I don't know where you guys are on that. But I didn't want to let that go. I didn't want to not, I didn't want to hide our head in the sand and, go, that's not okay, but do nothing. So, but you guys, thoughts?
Well, it really had nothing to do with our ordinances. I mean, and from what I'm gathering from coming to a couple of those meetings, that any decision has to be made by what's in the ordinances, and that really had nothing to do with what was in the ordinances. But, so I guess I would feel like that would have jeopardized maybe a conflict of interest or a bias situation.
Yeah, I would consider that the same thing as a conflict of interest.
So Brooke, you have our opinion. We would ask you to be careful if you're gonna dispense legal advice. It just isn't the role of the planning board member.
No, conflict of interest, I understand in this town just works one way, only if it benefits Sunday River. If there's anything against it, then, oh man, all hell's gonna break loose. I understand, I get it.
Specifics?
So I resigned from the planning board, you guys can have fun. That's what you want, that's what you're gonna get.
No, Brooks, I'm obviously not gonna sit here and argue with you. I'm sorry that you wanna resign, but understood. Thank you for all the work you've done. You've been a long-time member and certainly put a lot of time and effort in.
You guys can have free reign of the town now.
I believe the voters have free reign of the town, and that's the way we're always gonna try to keep it.
If they get notified properly and legally.
I mean, Brooks, obviously, you've got a bunch of stuff that I don't know that now is the time. Would be happy to set up a meeting and discuss it all if you'd like, but
No, you seem to have everything under control.
oh, thank you.
So does that bring us to the next?
That brings us to the next piece, which is Doug has resigned. We have a,
Well, no, the board has
Oh.
requested that
sorry,
Casa Pieces
Thank
comes
you.
and we'll talk to them. Now, I wish the chairman or someone was here to explain more what they really want. I mean, maybe you could email John, Luke, or whatever you wanna call him, and just see what he wants.
It's a moot point. I was the one that brought the motion up. I was gonna ask him to inform the board how we'd operate under the new changes, but I'm not on the board, so probably the board can get along without cast speakers.
So we should ask,
But it's not a new point, Brooks, we do wanna help the planning board do their job. And yes, like you said, it's been going on for 30 years, but everything has changes. And if we can make it a little bit better by doing a couple of little changes, I think we should do that. Not only for the planning board, but for the people that are making the presentation of their things that they want to put forward, their applications.
I agree, I think it's worth asking Gooch, I mean, that's, you know, if he wants to, and,
I
you
mean,
know,
at the very least, we have a, you know, Gooch is the senior member, he's the chairman of the board at this point, and even though it would be a reiteration of what we talked about on the 23rd, maybe having just a workshop with them to discuss what their job is and what their roles and responsibilities are and moving forward.
we did that though.
Especially if we're having some new,
If we're gonna have new
Members.
members, though,
But they, I mean, we did
we
that.
should
and-
wait until we get that.
Yeah, I agree with that, part. Wait until we get a new board complete,
okay.
and then have the attorney talk to them.
Yeah, now, I mean, we're back to 4 members.
We're,
Well,
3 right now.
Right, but
Yeah.
we have later in the, you know, Gary has stepped up and.
Yep.
I'm assuming we appoint and.
Yep.
You know, so we have 4 members, and 3 of them are brand new. Becky has certainly is familiar with the process from all her years as a recording secretary.
and John's been on there for years.
John's been on there,
Yeah.
right, but 50% of the board is
Brandon.
brand new.
So, I inferred from the reading of the minutes of the last meeting that, that Brooks was gonna come up with a list of questions to present to, the town attorney, but now that that's not happening, I certainly can touch back with Gooch and ask him if it's still necessary and, you know, what specifics we're looking for legal advice.
Gary, you said it, and we, you know, we've been trying now we wanna help the planning board. I mean, that's our job, right? We owe it to them to help. So, whatever we can do to help through the process, we need to do. So, let's reach out to Gooch and
Okay.
see what he thinks, and then the next, if you guys are good, the next item is, discuss and consider, Doug's resignation.
I make a motion that we accept it, I mean, he obviously has resigned,
Right.
and I guess we just formally have to accept it. I mean, it's too bad that, you know, everybody all of a sudden is, I resign him, but I can't believe it's all our fault, but it's looking that way.
Well, I mean, clearly it's not, you know, clearly we need, I think we need to rethink how we're doing things. It's not just the, you know, over the past 12 months, how many planning board members have we lost? And a lot of it mid-term, you know, I mean, that's just not typically, I mean, typically people finish out their time, and I think that's how it went for a number of years, and, you know, I mean, we all served on it and did it was time to go, but you announced that, and, so, yeah, we need to rethink it. We've talked about having that planner come to help, which I think is, you know, is a direction we certainly can continue to look at, but,
Is that maybe a way we could go with this planner, have them come talk to the planning board maybe not necessarily cast the pieces?
That's an option.
Yeah,
I don't know, we gotta do something and hopefully it's the right thing. I mean, we're losing good people right now.
right, as we have been for the past 12 months,
Right.
or 18
You know,
months, whatever it is.
You can't replace some of the knowledge that they've got with all the things that they've done. It's,
So Gary made a motion to accept Doug's resignation.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? So moved. Thank Doug for his time. Do we need to do a motion to accept Brooks's? Do we wanna get that in writing?
Right, I think we need to have it in writing.
Okay, will you do that for us, Brooks?
Got it on the tape.
We still need to have it in writing.
Well, Brooks would need to do that. And if that's something he chooses not to do,
I think he can verbally accept his resignation. And we'll have it in the minutes that he's resigned and that you've accepted.
and it's on the tape.
I'll make a motion that we accept Brooks's resignation verbally, and that it is on the tape, and that it will be in the minutes of our meeting to accept his resignation
From the planning board. From the
from the
planning.
planning board.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? So moved. One more planning board thing on a more positive note. Gary Groen has put his name in the hat. Gary's certainly we're well familiar with, been around town, certainly cares about the town, and we just need a motion to appoint him to the board.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Harry Brown to the planning board. Now,
What, that.
is this for
That's be the completion of
6
somebody-
months or
So this is
completion
gonna-
of this?
This is gonna be to complete Doug's term, which expires on 6/30/2021.
So we're appointing him for a year and a half.
Yeah,
I'll second that, if that's the way the motion goes.
Is that clear enough, Barbara?
yeah, we get it.
Yeah. So we have a motion and a second, all those in favor? So moved.